Hello, my name is Eric Booth. I'm a consultant that works with El Sistema inspired programs around the United States. El Sistema is a music education system, largely after school, that was founded in Venezuela 36 years ago by an inspired genius named Jose Antonio Abreu. And this program has grown into what is widely described as the most significant arts education happening in the world. What it is this after-school music program that reaches hundreds of thousands, perhaps 400,000 students every day now across Venezuela in an intensive orchestra after-school music program that is not just filled a country with 200 and more youth orchestras, but that actually aims for the economically deprived kids in very struggling parts of that country and develops them as people through this orchestra system. This program has been inspiring the launch of similar programs in the United States over the last 4 and 5 years, and that's what our conversation is going to be about today. So let me ask my 5 colleagues that come from Baltimore and Atlanta and Philadelphia and Hawaii and Newport News, Virginia, this first question. Could you take one of the core principles of El Sistema that you have successfully been able to adopt and plant in the heart of your program?
This is Ramirez. One of the core ideas of access to kids has been one of our driving factors in that we want all of our kids to be able, no matter what economic level or anything like that, so that they can come in and have experience with the joy of music making.
And I would just add for our listeners that the music education programs in the United States have tended to be for kids whose parents could afford the extra expense of an intensified music program. While we certainly have music education in schools, the intensification of this program and youth orchestra movement has been limited largely for kids with greater financial background. And that one of the urgencies of El Sistema is to open it up for all kids, particularly the kids who have not had access to music education intensively in the past.
This is Kassie here over in Baltimore. I'd have to say one of the most exciting principles that I get to see every day is the idea of having fun, and that the environment we create in our program is consistently there, and kids become really good friends with each other. We do lots of fun activities. There's always music being made, and it's an atmosphere that the students will be able to feel very comfortable in, and it builds the community up to a level that is not, well, you couldn't say not typically seen, but is very commonly seen in these El Sistema-based programs where kids have a very, very strong desire to come to the program because it is so much more than just a music program. It is something that's fun, that's invigorating, that's intense, and that's something that we strive to create every day in our program here.
This is Stanford. Thompson from Play on Philly. I think a really cool thing that I've been able to see is the pride of the parents. That's been one thing that has really stuck out to me to watch. Our parents go from thinking that this is free after school care to, yeah, it being cute for my kids to play instruments to, holy crap, there's things that are happening to my kids that I can't explain, but I like them and I want them to keep going. To, you know, it's a great opportunity that my child has to be part of this. It's great that so many people care about what my kids are doing outside as they see guests come in, and you know, lots of opportunities and lots of people talking about them. So I think that's been great to watch the pride built through a classical music training program, essentially.
And I would just add, one of the elements Stanford is referring to is that El Sistema work is seen as community development, community bonding. There's a very proactive effort for the work to be beyond just what's happening in the room with the students of the orchestra, but to reach into communities, to use frequent performance to engage communities, and to be constantly pursuing the connection, the involvement of families.
This is Louise from Kaliko Lehua, El Sistema, Hawaii. And one of the things that's really fun that started immediately was peer helping. That's a very important principle of El Sistema. And we had a child who's a first grader, and we were only in K and 1, but his fourth or fifth grade brother got very interested. He was saying, well, I really want to play the flute. I really want to start now. I don't want to wait till the fall. So our women player started working with him on flute and recorder, and now he's helping with the recorder students in K1. Even though he's only in fifth grade, he knows more notes than they do. That's an important thing in El Sistema. So I'm very happy with that development. And we've got some other brothers and sisters who want to not wait till the fall also.
This feature that Louise is describing of peer-to-peer teaching goes way back in El Sistema Venezuela, largely because they didn't have enough teachers, that they learned together and they felt that someone who knew a little bit more could help someone who knows a little less. And it's become one of the tools that they have used to really create this phenomenal speed of learning that happens there. And it's just a belief in the El Sistema world that peers teach one another.
This is Dante from the Atlanta Music Project. When I was in Venezuela, I had the opportunity to start a young student on bassoon. And about a week later, this student who was not very advanced, obviously, was trying to get into my rehearsals for this in preparation for their concert. And I asked the Nucleo director if this young student who had been playing for about 3 or 4 days was going to play on our concert. And he said, absolutely, yes. And I looked at him like he was crazy. But now I'm in Atlanta, and I understand this concept of performance and inclusion. So now, when we get new students at the Atlanta Music Project, it doesn't matter if they've been playing for 1 week or 1 year. If there's a concert coming up, they're going to play in it. If they just do the bow and sit down and put their bow on the string, that's not all they can do. That's fine. So this program, this concept of performing often and early, is one that I adore, and it builds that community spirit very quickly.
Let me ask a different question of our guests here. What have you been challenged by? What are some of the core ideas that you've seen or heard about in El Sistema Venezuela that you find challenging to bring into the practice in your growing sites?
I'll take a stab at that one. One of the things that I noticed in Venezuela when I was there was that there were very few behavior issues, and it might have been because of our presence as guests, but I think that really built this amazing culture of working with each other, of cooperation, and working together towards concert over 35, 37 years. It just become that kind of place where kids know when you go, you're part of the group and you're accepted. So one of the difficulties when you're starting a new program, as we have here in Atlanta, discipline is a really big issue. We haven't created that culture yet of this is a safe place, this is a place where we want to hear your voice, where we encourage you to speak your mind, where we don't do any making fun of each other, and just the regular things you might see in a school. We're trying to do away with that and music project and turn it into a real music program. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but I think it's about building this culture over time, as opposed to any other deficiencies on the part of our students or communities. I think it's just a matter of time.
This is Kassie again. I'd like to share a little bit about the expansion in Baltimore. The communities have come a very, very long way from not knowing anything about what the after-school music program should be, and then to learning about our program. And a lot of the problems that we've had is integrating with the system that's already set up, and that there's a culture, a very strong culture in every school system in every city around the country, and trying to fit into what the situation already is and how to incorporate your situation into your program, and trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And that can mean anything from how the school runs or the location that you have. And it's a lot of playing around with, well, this worked this day, we're going to continue doing this style of program, or using the classroom on this side worked really, really well. And it's a matter of playing a little bit of hit and miss and seeing what works and what doesn't, and eventually you come out on top with a schedule and a routine and a way to fit into a community that has really taken off and has been successful. But it takes a little bit of playing around with in order to get to that spot.
Louise.
I think that, this is Louise again from Hawaii. We are fairly new, so parental involvement is interesting because many of our kids either take the bus home or they go to A+, which is after school care in Hawaii. And so their parents aren't really there, actually, so they don't see us very often. And we have started with those parents that do actually pick up their kids to maybe have them come in and see what we're doing and starting to get people to volunteer. But the parents are a little bit standoffish at the moment, so that's a challenge. And I know that that's a really important thing for us to develop.
I think one of the interesting things in Venezuela, there is a true accepted belief that music is a great tool for building the internal citizen and then being able to go out and externalize it as being a good citizen. I think through the years of what teachers have been told and what people do, the only way that you're going to be a good citizen is if you're working on something, math, science, technology, engineering, whatever, all the way through all the time. And it's focus on those hard academics, but yet creativity, the stuff that makes the STEM stuff turn into our big great thinkers of our time is often kind of not pushed in the education system of where they're placing the importance of music and arts, what they often call as soft skills, but aren't really ready to accept that these soft skills are the foundation to be able to build on the academic growth that we all want from our kids.
I know it's just difficult for us here in Philadelphia, mainly because, having the oldest and the largest community music school and, fine music conservatory and, a great orchestra, and then lots of music education projects, that can be difficult to just get people to see through all of that, to see how we're different, and also to just see how, how we can all work together. So those are really big challenges that end up hurting us, simply because we've hit brick walls with funders and with potential partners because of territory. So,
what is the main way that you describe your difference to that existing ecosystem? You say, our program is different. What is the main way you describe the difference?
I just say we all look really good. It's just, the approach is different. We're giving kids 600 hours plus of music instruction each year. I think our outcomes are going to be different, all around the board, not just on a social level, but we talk about pride within communities. We talk about the impact that we have on their lives outside of, them being a musician, even what they're doing musically. So I just say that, time will tell. There's just been so much resistance, though. I've had people tell me, Stanford, you should stop what you're doing and just go support Settlement Music School or go support something else, the public schools. They need the money. That's what I get.
Sometimes when people ask, why the Atlantic Music Project, why El Sistema, what's the difference? I may not have the exact answer today, but we have a situation in all parts of the country, especially in urban inner cities, of very high school dropout rates. We have a situation where kids are not doing very good on test scores. We have a situation, problems with teen pregnancy, and yet there's all these wonderful after-school programs, but still we have this situation where a lot of kids are at risk of going in the wrong direction. So wouldn't it be worth trying something different? Why try to rehash things that have led to the situation we're in right now, which in the communities that we serve can be quite dire under a lot of situations. So it's something new, like Stanford said. It's a lot of intensity. It's a lot of hours per day. And my guess is my prediction is the same as Stanford's. Our outcomes will be different, and I think that they're going to be very positive differences.
Let me just state that one of the really inspirational parts of the Venezuelan example is that they have unabashedly aimed at the kids who are living in extraordinarily tough circumstances and sought to redirect the trajectory of their lives. And their results have been so astonishingly positive. That is what has sparked this movement, this sudden kind of inspired movement in the US to see if we can bring some of those same extraordinary results of taking kids who, according to the statistics, are going to face some pretty difficult lives and redirect them through orchestral engagement. And that idea is what has lit up this movement across the US. Let me change the direction for just a moment and ask a personal question of you all. What is something, in seeing this work begin to take root, where you've been so involved, what is something that has surprised you? You had high expectations and high hopes, but as you've seen it unfold, what's something that has surprised you personally?
For me, it's you expect to enact change, but and I was kind of saying, well, El Sistema has taken 35 years, and now the world is kind of, over the past 5 years, have kind of grown into realization of the wonder that is going on in Venezuela. And you look and you think, oh, these results are going to take forever and ever. But then you have a kid that comes over and says, Mr. Ramirez, I so appreciate what you have been doing and what Soundscapes does, or what this program does for me. And while you're tough on me and you expect a lot from me, I appreciate that. And coming from a third grader to say that, I think is huge, and in being able to see these personal results happening so quickly, much quicker than I actually had imagined that we would start seeing them.
Yes. I'd like to agree. This is Louise. I'd like to agree with Ray that, I think it was the third week of our kindergarten program, the kindergarten teacher, who actually is coming every day and learning the violin with her kids, which is great. She said to me, I went into school one day and my kids were sitting there, and I said, what have you done to my children? Because they just are behaving differently, they're more focused, and that was just in the first month. And now many things are going on that she just shakes her head every day. She's so supportive because she sees how it affects them as people as well as budding musicians.
By far, one of the things that I take great pleasure in is just seeing how much great work our kids can do. I don't teach every day in my program. I kind of cover over both of our sites here at the Atlanta Music Project, and I get snippets of the progress the teachers and kids are making towards our next concert. And I have to tell you, sometimes I walk into a rehearsal room and I cringe and then I run away because it sounds so awful. But as I go back week after week after week, it gets better and better and better. And I'll ask my site managers, so are they going to be able to play this stuff? And all of a sudden they tell me, yeah, it's going to be great. They're going to be fine. And that was only, that's 3-4 weeks ago. The ability for the kids we serve and any kids to do huge things. Whatever I challenge them with, they accomplish. They figure it out. And the kids are capable of so much more if given an opportunity like an El Sistema program. They will defy all odds under the right circumstances, and these programs allow them and us and the community to do this. The kids are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say on the same thing, our the opportunities that we're able to present to these kids in just that people really do want to give us access to perform. I have some kids that just started the flute in January, and right now it's the end of February. And next week we're opening up a conference for the Virginia Early Childhood Educators Association, where there's going to be 1,500 to 2,000 kids, teachers, and they just started their instruments in January, and they're going to be performing for 2,000 people. We look at it and try to put them to a place where when they get done with that concert, they're going to go, wow, we've gone a huge amount of space in just a short amount of time.
I know one of the things that delights me with Surprise is seeing how many of the accepted norms of sort of youth music learning, how the developmental sequences, the scope and sequence we've come to expect, are completely disrupted by this work. That kids achieve faster than we normally believe kids can achieve, that in fact the accomplishment level, the whole achievement level is much faster than we've ever been led to think was possible, and that so it's establishing new norms. One question comes up that I bet has gone through at least one of our listeners' minds, is the counterintuitiveness of classical music being the vehicle for turning on inner city kids. These are not thoughts we tend to put together. It's certainly much the same in Venezuela when they started. The kids in their barrios didn't have deep classical music fascinations, and yet there's something about engagement in the orchestral ensemble endeavor and classical music in particular that seems to have this catalytic effect. What are your thoughts about why classical music instead of music that's more familiar to the kids?
We could have done various types of models. We could have done a popular hip hop model. We could have done all these other types of things, but there's nothing like classical music that really allows a large amount of folks to get together to create something that is larger than what they are on their own. And classical music in itself, there's just all these time-tested pieces that really can get into the soul of a person, and that needs to be worked. They need to work on this music to internalize the creativity that can come out of it.
Also, I want to add to that I think it's really cool to watch the kids tap into something that they didn't have access to before. Classical music and this idea of it being elite, that you need to spend a lot of money to do it. So I think, that's another part of the glue as well, watching the kids and the parents, realize that they can do this stuff. But I don't know, it feels like if I was passionate about banging on buckets, for example, I could have 100 kids, a whole a bucket program. I think it's a lot of what the teaching artists bring to it, and to steal a quote that I thought of myself, you teaching 80% of who you are, and showing that to other people. It's really, that's really an Eric Booth thing. But seriously, them seeing that and them gravitating towards it, if it's classical music or jazz or folk music. So,
let me throw out one final question to wrap it up. And here's my question. Is this fad? Is El Sistema just the flavor of the month until, our kind of hyperkinetic thinking takes us somewhere else? Or do you think this is actually a movement that's here to stay and actually live up to some of the promise of Venezuela and some of the potential we all feel? What is it going to take to make this turn into something more than just a kind of a fad?
It basically comes down to the effect that serving one child can have on the community. You know, this program so deeply nurtures and empowers the child that this empowers the families and empowers communities. So when programs such as art programs in the schools are on the chopping blocks, you know, our programs will survive because they will have the support of the families and community, which is really important at the grassroots level to continue to have these kinds of programs. As long as we keep serving a lot of kids, you know, and the kids keep doing good, we're going to be okay. If we start getting bogged down into territorial things, adult wars and egos, we're going to be in trouble. Keep it focused on the youth, and they'll lead the way for us.
I know my own answer to that question is we've been making some pretty great promises, or at least raising hopes, that this work can change the trajectory of at-risk kids' lives. And if we can start to actually back up that aspiration and, you know, really ground those hopes in real accomplishments, show that it's happening, I think this is a movement that actually can be seen as cost-effective and actually a successful way of disrupting those ravages, cycles of poverty that have been so intractable. If we can prove that this work can do it, I think it's definitely here to stay. Others, what do you think?
I think it's as much of a fad as you need food in order to live. The fact is that, you know, you don't have to. I mean, I don't have to prove it to myself. I didn't want to go to school, but as soon as I got into 6th grade and as soon as I picked up that French horn, it changed my life the very first day. And from that very first day, I wanted to I knew what I was going to do, and I could set goals, and it had me so within its grips that I would do everything that I needed to do, and I was a fairly good student. I was in AP classes and stuff like that, but I don't think I would have if I didn't have something to look forward to every day, to go and a reason to get up. And so for me, that's just as much of the same thing as me eating every day, because it was what made me live. And that's what, that can't be a fad.
Yes, Ray's comment feeds right into what I was going to say, because I think that another aspect of why this is not just a fad is that the young musicians that you're seeing, excluding myself, not as a young musician, but the musicians that you're seeing have been lit by a torch. And a torch of just seeing that they can actually make a difference. And Ray said to my daughter when they were in Venezuela, she went down one time, and she wrote this down because it was so brilliant. He said, musicians today are no longer bohemians rejected from society. Instead, we bear the torch of hope through an international community of youth orchestras and the global language of music. So we're ignited as musicians to spread this, because we know that we can make a difference in lives through music and through building community. And I think that's a big reason why it won't just be a fad. You're not going to turn off all these tigers that have been created.
Stanford, a closing comment. I know you need to run.
I mean, I wish I said what Louise said before she said it. Really, I mean, there's so much great stuff happening. I think that there's so much genuine passion, and I mean, this is really hard work to do, as you know, as we're all doing it. And it's not easy for us at all to sit here and try to, you know, prove what we want to prove. So, I mean, this is something that I feel so fortunate to be part of, and to even be sitting and talking with the other 5 of you about all of this work that brings us together. So, I don't think it's dying anytime soon. I mean, this is just the beginning.
All right, well, let me close out with my own comment that what has particularly struck me personally about coming to this work at the end of a long lifetime around arts education was I feel fortunate I lived long enough to see the start of this. This is a kind of a dream I had imagined for a lot of years, that in fact we could tap the true power of arts education to fulfill its innate promise of changing lives, and on a scale that we've never seen in Venezuela, and with a kind of spread, not just across the US, but across the world at this point, that is a belief that, in fact, this work can change the trajectory of kids' lives. And good Lord, it's happening in my lifetime, and I'm lucky enough to get to be a part of it. I think that's true for the 54 cities across the US that have sites that are starting and growing fast, and the many other fascinated colleagues, such as you people who are watching this material now. We invite you to join the movement. There's plenty of ways to find out what's going on. If you Google the words El Sistema, you will be overwhelmed. If you sign up for a Google group, your email life will change. There's any number of ways to get involved. And our 5 colleagues we have here talking today are just a sample of the inspired, committed, and really smart people who are taking the miracle of Venezuela and planting it on our soil. Thanks very much. Comments, closing comments from anyone?
Tocar y luchar.
Tocar y luchar, which is the slogan in Venezuela, to strive and to play. Thank you, everyone.
Right, thanks.
Aloha.